Hello, good evening. This is Juan and Charnette. We are from Noise and Associates. We are a firm of immigrants for immigrants. And we know we're back on to doing these lives, and we want to bring to you discussions that are of concern, things that we're seeing in the office, and just to be able to help our families. Again, if you are afraid of being deported, please get help now. You can feel
Yes.
free to call the number that you see below, and we'll be more than happy to help.
And feel free to share this video, this live with your friends, your family members, your neighbors, with anyone who is going through the situation at this moment, having anxiety over the fact that we have a new administration coming in who talks about mass deportation. Um, and just knowing that if you have, we'll talk about our shield for non immigrant is knowing your rights, being educated on what your options are. That will be your shield for this new administration coming in.
So we like to talk, we like to say that this is our Avengers shield, our shield of defense. How can our families, friends, people we know and love and care about can protect themselves? Today was very impactful. I mean, we had the principal from our daughter's school
Yes.
give us a call. He's very concerned about the effect that family separation is going to have in our communities.
Yes, because he had experience as a principal dealing with children in this United States. The Constitution tells us that everyone is entitled to a public education, free education. So it doesn't matter what your immigration status is. When the Trump administration was in the first year in 2016, he experienced where family members were being separated, where a parent who, yes, they came in illegally, they were ordered deported, but they never left the country, but they built a home, they had children, bought a home, started a business here, and then that parent had to be deported, and now the family had to go through so much different anxiety and separation, not knowing what to do. So he was calling us, trying to figure out how can he empower parents to plan for what may come if what the president is talking about is going to be something that of a mass deportation. So we understand the anxiety not just as a parent, but understanding as immigrant ourselves what other people or family members are going through.
And we've had a lot of clients, even our own clients, right, call us concerned, worried, wanting assurances. And the one thing that we always tell people, only God,
That
right?
is
But
true.
God is your number one defense, ultimately. And yes, doing something about your immigration situation by seeking help from a professional. And ultimately, the best safeguard that we can have for people is to have your case filed. It doesn't mean that you are 100% covered, but having an immigration receipt of a pending case is better than having nothing.
That is true. Because when you have a case that is pending, if ICE picked you up or the immigration judge, they have to wait till USCIS makes a decision. And depends on the case type, it could take up to 5 years before you get a decision. So that puts you in a protection for bubble for 5 years.
Right.
And that case type we're talking about right now is U visa. We'll go through the chart.
Yes. So we're gonna go ahead and share our screen,
Yes.
so we can start going through again, the immigration shield. This is kind of different options that may be available to you and your loved ones. So again, we have this available, and now we're gonna post it in English, so that you can be aware of what these things are, and ultimately to make sure that we're preparing ourselves. Ultimately, it is our duty, it is our goal to be prepared and to make sure that we're doing the best that we can to
Educate.
educate ourselves, and just be prepared. I mean, it's our responsibility as a community to help each other, to help your neighbor. This is a time of a lot of uncertainty, and the best thing that we can do is to help each other, educate each other, but ultimately, again, be accountable. If you know that your immigration is one that is very precarious, right? It is your duty, it is your job to make sure that you are seeking help from a professional, help from someone who's going to have your best interests at heart, and ultimately, not walking blind, right? It
Yeah.
is very important that you know what your case type is, that you are aware of, what it
Your
is that
rights.
what your rights are.
Yeah, because even with one thing as an immigrant, you have the right that if someone comes to your door without, if they don't have a warrant, you don't have to open that door. Not because you are undocumented, mean that if the ICE come knocking at your door and they say there's a police, you should just open the door. You have to open the door. No. If they, you can ask, do you have a warrant? If they don't have a warrant, then you don't let them in. If they have a warrant, you can say slide it under the door for me to verify. That's one of your rights. Another rights that you have is that you don't have to answer any questions without an attorney present. If they're asking you questions, you can say, I don't want to answer any question unless I have my attorney present. And that's just a few rights that we as immigrant or American, everyone that's living in this country have. As a Fifth Amendment rights, you don't have to answer any questions unless you have your attorney with you. Unless you want to answer the questions, you are free to do it. But if you choose not to, they cannot force you to answer their question. You can say, I need my attorney. And they have to afford you time to get your attorney before you answer any questions.
Yes, absolutely. So we're having a little bit of technical difficulty sharing the screen. What we can do is that we can just talk openly about the options that we have available and how we can help your families.
Yeah, they definitely can do that.
So the number one option, again, and this is very sad to me, it's T visa. So explain to me why I'm saying it's sad to me.
T visa is considered for trafficking, victim of trafficking, human trafficking. And you have sexual trafficking, where people are trafficked into the United States, women, men, children, and put into sex slave. You also have labor trafficking. And during the labor trafficking, you have people, employers who are taking control of you, forcing you to work 80 hours, but they're only paying you for 40 hours. Or they're telling you, if you work, I can call immigration on you if you don't do X, Y, Z. They control pretty much your whole life. How you work, what time you work, when you get breaks. And a lot of times we find where we ask people questions about their job, and the first thing they said, well, it's good. I don't want to get anyone in trouble. I feel this sense of loyalty to this employer because he or she gave me a job when I don't have no papers.
And that's why I'm saying it's sad, right? Because a lot of the families that we work with, they compare the money they were earning back home in their countries to what they're earning now. So when they compare, you know, earning $20 a day to being here and now earning $100, right?
Yeah.
They say, hey, no, it's not that bad. I can put up with being underpaid, even though I know that, I deserve better wages.
Yes, and then so even with some of the situation that we encounter is that the employer will put them up into rooming in a house. So like they'll buy the house and have all these people working and living in this home, rooming home, and then they charging them rent after they're working 80 hours and they're only paying them for 40 hours. And those things, those situations, they're cramped up in these three two-bedrooms apartment and sharing with other people. And for them again, as you said, they're making more than what they're making at home, back in their home country. And if they still have family members in their home country, they're able to send some of the funds back to their home country to help their family members. So they will put up with the things that they're being subjected to and thinking it's okay.
Right. They rationalize because of the gratitude, because it's better than what they were earning,
Yes.
because they're able to help their family, so they're able to sacrifice themselves, and not want to get not want to be part of an investigation because they don't want to get in trouble. They feel oftentimes like they won't be believed.
Yeah, because that's what they're being told. Is that if you told to call the police or make the report, they're more likely to believe me than you. You're undocumented. They're not gonna. There's nothing for you. However, in case by case, in the state of Connecticut, the Department of Labor does not matter what your immigration status is. You can get injured on a job and still file for workman comp. It doesn't matter your immigration status.
Right.
So that's where a lot of time people don't understand that. Not because it's employment, your immigration status don't necessarily matter when it comes to the labor in violation of the labor law.
And and it's sad because a lot of people just feel that they don't have any rights. They shouldn't pursue any options. So please remember, regardless of your immigration status, employers have to abide by wage laws.
Yes.
They have to pay you the minimum wage. If you are working overtime hours, they have to pay you time and a half. If you're working holidays, they're supposed to pay you double time. So regardless of your immigration status, that is something that you are entitled to.
Yes, and that's why, again, with T visa, a lot of times people don't really know about it, and it is an option that is there for immigrants who have been subjected to wage theft. Whether also if you were brought into the country and at some point your trafficker, your coyotes trafficked you or had you work in the wherever they have you kept you, they have you working cleaning for the traffickers or cooking meals for the other people that are with you in a group or forcing you to try to have sex with one of them or so forth. Those are a form of trafficking that you can also still try to apply for a T visa. Just seek out a lawyer to know your option. Sometimes a trafficker could be also your family members. It could be considered like a Cinderella type T visa.
Right. So again, regardless of your status, please make sure that you seek help. Do not be afraid. Know that you have rights, and the time to act is now. We've had families who are still kind of in disbelief. They don't think that anything's going to happen. I mean, we've heard so many things in the news. For instance, one of the most recent ones, which I've seen a lot of posts on, is the fact that the National Guard will be used, state and local police will be used, the military is going to be used, and there are likely to be legal challenges to all this being done. But it doesn't mean that you shouldn't act.
That is true. There will be legal challenges. I'm a part of the Immigration Lawyers Association, AILA, and we are being prepared for what can happen with the Trump administration. We have we fight in court to try to get some of the laws that President Trump before in the first administration tried to enforce against immigrants. So there are people going to fight for your rights, but at the same time, just don't sit back and wait and see. If you have options, check out your options and get something going. You don't have to sit and wait because in almost would say within our culture, that would say delay is danger.
Right, absolutely. So there's no reason to wait. Please make sure that you are seeking help. Now, the other option that we have available is U visa. So let's explain a little bit. Let's go into what U visa is.
So U visa, that is if you have been in the United States and you were a victim of a crime, whether it be domestic violence, you were a victim of assault, a felony assault, or any other type of crime where somebody tried to rob you at gunpoint or attempted murder, whatever type of crime it is, as long as you cooperated with the police investigation and the police department or the courts who prosecute this individual for the crime, sign a certification, you would be eligible for what they call a U visa. A U visa status, once you get a U visa status, you're able to get a green card after 3 years of having that U visa status. And U visa is one of those areas where it takes up to 5 years for them to make a determination because there's only but so much visa that is allocated to that category, so that they're created a backlog. That's why it takes up to 5 years for someone to get a U visa. But in the meantime, if they make that bona fide determination, saying that your case is a bona fide case, it can be approved for U visa. You will be able to get your work permit in the meantime.
Exactly, and it's so important that this these benefits that we're discussing are for victims of crimes. Because not everyone has a U.S. citizen spouse,
Yes.
children or parents that can file for them. So these humanitarian options of immigrations are available for families to be able to help them to, find some kind of solution for your case. Again, having a receipt is better than not having anything at all.
No, that is definitely true. Having something filed in a receipt pending, it's it gives you a little bit of a safety net to know that, hey, I'm doing something about my status. At the same time, immigration will see that, and then they will give me some leeway. They won't put me in removal, or if they do, the court will wait to see what the decision is made.
Absolutely, and the next option that we'll be discussing is asylum.
Yes. Asylum is also one of those options that is there. That if you were persecuted before in your home country, or you fear persecution of in your home country, if you return back to your home country, one of the in asylum there's 5 grounds. So you have asylum based on race, your nationality, your sexual orientation, particular political group, and a particular group, social group. So, for example, if I was, since say, like in the U.S., right, we had the Republicans and the Democrats, but I was a Democrat and I was rooting against the Republican, and I was making protesting, and now that the Republican Party is going into power, and because I was so out there with all my anti-Republican stands, now the government is looking for me.
And now remember, the number one issue or the big issue about filing for asylum, let's say you've been here for 12 years,
Yes.
20 years, 10 years, 5 years, even over a year or two. Immigration is going to question the validity of your asylum claim because
Yes.
why did you wait
Because
longer than a year to apply for asylum?
one of the most important thing about asylum is that you have to file for asylum within the first year of entering the United States.
Unless there are changes in country conditions
Yes.
or there's something else that had happened, an extreme circumstance that can qualify you. So again, the best thing to do is to always seek professional help. We're here to help you. We're here to guide you and provide the support that you need. Now, you want anything else to add about asylum?
One thing about asylum is that when you receive asylum status, you cannot go back to your home country.
Now, we've had clients that say, hey, my friend, got asylum from Ecuador, and she traveled to Ecuador and nothing happened to her.
Yes. But you're not supposed to. So maybe your friend who had the asylum and traveled back to Ecuador, maybe he or she took a different route so that the U.S. government does not know that they entered Ecuador.
Or some of them lie. They
Or
say
they lie.
that there's a family emergency, that someone died, and they risk going back to their country and they risk having potential difficulties or issues.
Yes. And then, so, one thing also with asylum, I will always try to warn people is that asylum is like a really high standard. And we will filing a frivolous asylum. So that means making up a story, a fake claim, and filing this fake claim with asylum can get you barred for life from any case type.
So again, we know that people are desperate to resolve their immigration issue, but do not succumb to fraud.
Yes.
Do not take the easy way out by doing what somebody else is doing. We've had a lot of cases like that where, well, my cousin did this, or my friend did that, or my neighbor did this. And, people are filing these fake asylums. They're getting work permits. They're getting socials. But the reality is, by the time it really comes to get in front of an officer, when they're doing that credible fear interview, or they're doing that interview to see if you are credible and you're not found credible, you're going to be ordered removed. And as Trump has already declared, there's going to be an order of priority of removal. And on top of those is going to be people with criminal issues and then
Yes.
people who have been ordered removed.
Yes, and that's really important, is not to file frivolous asylum claims. Our next topic is for special immigrant juvenile.
Yes, in special immigrant juvenile status, here in Connecticut, we know that every state law varies, but here in Connecticut, we're able to help youth, young men and women who are unmarried and under 21 years of age who have been victims of abuse, abandonment, or neglect. Now, these kids are, under 21, they can be parents, they just cannot be married.
Yes. So the abuse, abandonment, and neglect is based upon your parent. Say either your mom or dad or both parent have abused you, abandoned you, did not provide for you to go to school, they don't provide any financial support for you. Those are some of the things that we could use to get in Connecticut, the probate court, to terminate either both parents or one parent's right and give you a new guardian. And based upon that guardianship and finding a special juvenile status, that individual youth can apply for special juvenile status with immigration.
And this is all, based on the fact of what's in the best interest of that child.
Yes.
In the best interest of the child is that the child has an adult caregiver here in the U.S. that is providing for their basic needs, food, clothing, and shelter, and it is not convenient or it's not to the best interest of that child to be removed back to his country of origin. Now, once you're awarded special immigrant juvenile status, you cannot file for your mom or your father.
Yes, you cannot file for your parent. That is one of the requirements.
And someone
about it.
said today, "Oh well, I heard that that the child could apply for their step parent, or they could apply for their guardian who they've been assigned." And the answer to that is no. Your step parent, you cannot file for your step parent. You cannot file for your guardian. Unless there's some kind of exception for being adopted. But again, in this case, we're not talking about adoption. We're talking about removal of guardianship and assigning of guardianship.
Yeah, so it's totally different. It's a different option. So again, people always give out partial facts and not the full entire facts. And then people always run and say, "Oh, but my friend case is the same as mine, and they have their stuff approved, but mine is not getting anywhere, or mine is denied. Why is mine denied, but my friend's case is approved?" Maybe your friend didn't tell all the facts.
Exactly. And one other option, which we don't really touch a lot on briefly, but wouldn't really touch a lot on, but it's cancellation of removal for non-green card holders, which again is what we considered a nuclear option. The cancellation of removal is when you've been here in the U.S. for 10 years, you have no criminal record or prior deportations
Yes.
or removals, and you are requesting from the judge that because of your parent, because of your spouse, because of your child, that you merit discretion.
Yes, and that you've been a productive member of society. The only thing that you did was came in here illegally, but other than that, you have been paying your taxes. You have your home, or you started a business and you're providing job for other people. Those are good. You're showing more positive. You have to show more positive factors.
Yes, so our camera just turned off. We're going to turn it off and on. And we're just going to continue with discussing our last topic of today, which is going to be, let's see if this comes on. Yes. So our last topic of today, as our camera allows us, is VAWA. VAWA is if you've been a victim of abuse by a parent or a spouse or your child. So we've had situations in which a U.S. citizen-born child is abusing their parents.
Yes. In that case, that parent can apply for VAWA. So the abuse can be physical, it could be verbal, it could be emotional, and it can also be financial. In the financial realm is that the U.S. citizen child has control of the bank account. So mom and dad is working and they're putting money in the account because they can't get a bank account for themselves.
Right.
So they open the account. So for example, I open the account, you put in the money in there, and you're saying, And I'm just spending, spending. I'm buying my
Right.
whatever I want, my Nike, the new iPhones, everything. And then you're saying, hey, where's my money? Why are you using my money? And I said, well, it's my money. It's in the bank account is in my name. I can, if you get upset, I'm gonna close it, or I can get you deported, and it's all mine.
Right.
Or the buying the house and putting the house in the kid's name.
And there's so many different scenarios, so many different situations that can take place. And ultimately, again, the best thing you can do is to seek legal help. So if you, your loved one, family member, who you know needs to hear this, please share it with them. We're going to be bringing you more content, more conversations, updates on the news, and a lot more. So please share, subscribe, and like, comment. We want to discuss things that may be of interest to you, and we want to bring you the latest in what's going on.
Yeah, because we just don't want it. We want it to be very interactive. We don't just want to sit here and talk all day, like just keep talking.
And with that being said, we will see you next time.